The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
I'd like to share with you a story of another Rasha and his response, which was a little bit different. Rabbi Yecheskel Sarna. He was in charge of the yeshiva of Chevron Geula. Okay? This story about it is a story about his wife. When she was a young girl and she was escaping from the Nazis, she managed to get away from the guards where they were guarding her, and she saw a big open field. So she runs across the open field, and her eyes are fixed on a place of safety. A big villa, a big home on the other side of this field. People are chasing her, they're trying to catch her. She's running literally like her life depends on it, because it does. She gets to the door of the villa. She pounds on the door. And as soon as the door opens, she realizes that she's made a terrible mistake. Who opens the door? Wearing his uniform, with his steel blue eyes and his beautifully trimmed mustache, a German Nazi officer. That was the home that he had commandeered at the time of the war. So he looks at her, she looks at him, she knows, and he says one word. He says, Jewess. Yiddische Schwein. Jewish pig. And his face, his mouth, curls into a sneer, and he says, Hast du gewillt zu Ratven sein? Did you want to get saved? And he starts laughing, almost like a maniacal laugh. He starts to laugh at her. He goes, I can't believe that you ran away from the camp. You ran away, you escaped the clutches of death, only to run straight to me so I could finish the job even quicker. She's shaking, she's almost frozen, but she has no choice. So before he can get out his revolver, she takes a step forward and steps into his house. All of a sudden, a look of confusion crosses the face of this Nazi officer. And he says, wait a minute, how did you get here? She says, I don't understand. I just told you. You saw I was running away. The officer says, no. How did you get past my dogs? And for the first time, she hadn't even noticed it because of her fear when she was running. She realizes that the pathway from the front of the house, the gates of the house, to the house is filled with Rottweilers, with German attack dogs, Amstaffs. These dogs, they were trained to rip Jews apart piece by piece. In Auschwitz, we have accounts of dogs attacking people, ripping off their manhood in their jaws, ripping off pieces of flesh from women. Horrible. He says, how did you get past my dogs? The Germans loved their attack dogs. They had no love for human beings, but they loved their attack dogs. So she says, I just ran. He says to her, are you some sort of magician? That's impossible. And then the smile comes back on his face. He says, you're going to sleep here tonight. And tomorrow morning, we're going to hold a running of the dogs. And if you could make it to the front gate, I personally will look after you and protect you till the end of the war. The Nazis like to toy with their victims. She got lucky once, she's not getting lucky again. The whole night, she sleeps on the floor, she's crying, praying, begging HaKadosh Baruch Hu to let her walk the gauntlet one more time and be safe. She wakes up in the morning, she says the prayers that could be her last. The Nazi has everyone by every window watching this beautiful spectacle. And he says, okay, go. He opens the door and she starts walking from the front door of his house to the front gate. She's walking, trying to make sure that she's not walking too slow, that she's not walking too fast. She doesn't want to attract their attention. She's trying not to exude the fear that she has inside of her, to give them that smell of blood. And miracle of miracles, the Rabbanit Sarna, Rabbi Yecheskel Sarna's wife, makes it to the front gate. And the Nazi is so impressed that he indeed keeps his promise. He protects her and he hides her. A Nazi guard. He thought there's something special about this girl. Maybe in the back of his mind he thought, if she's so holy, maybe she can absolve me of my sins. He protects her to the end of the war, and she becomes the Rabbanit of Hebron Geulah Yeshiva in Israel.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org